Revenge is a powerful emotion and can be sought from beyond the grave, as is the case in our haunting tonight. Imagine the horror and injustice it takes to imprint itself on the very bones of a person that rise up to haunt their tormentor long after the flesh has gone cold and rotted away. This haunting was on a mission from beyond the grave. Miles Phillipson was a wealthy man and a generous host. His parties were lavish with fine food and imported wine served on silver platters. It was all about status and prestige. The house was full to the brim the night he was celebrating claiming the land adjacent to his. It added a lovely lakeside view to his already impressive property. Just as dinner was about to be served, a screaming skull appeared on the fireplace and cut the revelry with the knife of its ungodly wailing. The skull had red glowing eyes and wailed continuously till all his guests ran from the manor clutching their ears in the fear of this terrifying manifestation. One brave guest paused for a moment to remind Phillipson of the curse that Dorothy had cast upon him as John and Dorothy Cook were dragged to the scaffold to be hung until dead. John and Dorothy Cook were an elderly couple who lived a good life running a farm they had built up during their lifetime on some prime lakefront real estate way back in the 1600s. Wealthy landowner and magistrate Miles Phillipson tried to buy their land, as it would finish off his adjacent plot beautifully, giving him lake access. The Cooks were happy and settled in their ways and had no desire to move and start over. They loved their home and wanted to end their days tending the farm they'd built up during their lifetimes. So they refused his generous offer and considered the matter closed. That Christmas, they were unexpectedly invited to Phillipson's home and enjoyed a fine feast, dining off expensive platters and supping from the finest silver goblets. They went home and slept off their excesses, only to be woken early the next morning and placed under arrest for stealing the very goblets they had drank from the night before. In truth, identical goblets had been hidden in their home by a member of Phillipson's staff in a cruel setup. Justice was harsh and swift in the United Kingdom in the 1600s. With no prisons, it was handed down on the spot and more often than not involved being hung. With Phillipson being the local magistrates, their fates were soon sealed. John Cook protested to no avail. Dorothy took more direct action. In her last moments on this earth, fueled by the horrific injustice of their sentence, she placed a curse on Phillipson. He would never prosper. From then on, she would haunt him for the rest of his days. The poor couple were dragged from the courthouse and hung. In an effort to get his guests back to the party, Phillipson threw the skull into the lake and bade his guests to continue their revelry, but no sooner were the words, "The skull is gone," uttered, did the skull reappear and resumed its unholy wailing at the expense of all who had the misfortune to witness it. Phillipson gathered some friends and returned the skull to the graveyard, digging and returning it to its rightful grave. No sooner had they returned to the house did the skull appear once more, screaming the place down. With demonic red glowing eyes, all his guests ran for their lives. Phillipson burnt the hateful skull that night and went to bed assuming the job was done. In truth, Phillipson was a cursed man from that day forward. The skull sat and wailed morning, noon and night. he never held another party. Word got out about the curse of the skull, and people wanted nothing to do with a cursed man. Worse yet, his business ventures failed, and he eventually died penniless and alone. His heirs for generations to come were unable to live in the mansion, for the skull remained there. Only when the house fell into ruin did the desperate haunting cease, and maybe justice had finally been served. I hope you enjoyed our ghostly tale. Join us again soon for the next Haunted Britain upload. Let us know your haunting tales in the comments, and please subscribe if you dare.